Alright guys, welcome back for another week of the 531 where we take our top 5 list on a particular subject, debate it down to a top 3 list, and from that top 3, short discussion gets us to a top 1. This week, we've got the top 5 most disappointing WWE gimmicks. And I'm going to start off my list. There's going to be a little explaining that's going to be needed for a couple of these, but number 1 I got Mantar. For number 2, I put Doink after Matt Bourne. For number 3, I got Giant Gonzalez. Number 4, Ultimate Warrior. Number 5, Baron Corbin.
Wow.
Now, I want to explain this list a little bit because Matt Bourne had probably the most sinister and dark Doink, and really, I think, made the character.
I agree.
After that, you had guys that filled in, but I don't think it kept that same nature. Giant Gonzalez obviously got hired for his height.
Sure.
There wasn't that much in the way of a match when you got him in there.
I thought the original Giant Gonzalez was good, but when they started filling him in with other... Oh, never mind.
And the Ultimate Warrior, I only put him on this list because if you know a little bit about wrestling, he was up for the Vader gimmick supposedly in Japan.
Yeah.
And when he ends up in WWE, of course as a kid I loved him. But as an adult, I find him almost like Chinese food. Right when you're there with it, it's interesting, it's filling, but then you walk away and it doesn't stay with you as much.
I hated the Ultimate Warrior.
You were more an NWA guy coming up, though, so... And being a little older, you might not have been drawn in necessarily like I was at that age.
In fairness, me and Dave, same age.
I love the Warrior.
He loved the Warrior.
And he's a big warrior.
Yeah. But that being said, I can definitely see where someone wouldn't like the Warrior. I would not put him in worst gimmicks of all time because there's so many bad ones. That's just my opinion, but go ahead.
And I put Baron Corbin because I thought in NXT, for what he was alright. But then he came up to the WWE, got the push, and he's had a couple different changes. It was a good thing he cut his hair, but he was in that GM role that did him really no favors.
I really liked the long hair with the Hogan crown on top. I thought that was great.
Holding on to the thinning hair.
Yeah, and I absolutely hate his look now as the King. It's got to be the worst King outfit I've ever seen in my
I would
life.
almost take him back in those GM clothes that he had.
Oh, God.
But Dave, who do you have for a top 5 most
I
disappointing
think listening to your
gimmicks?
top 5, Joe, that you were lucky enough to miss some of the truly bad gimmicks in WWE. Because even though Adam hates the Warrior, I bet your Warrior didn't make his list either.
He did not.
Yeah, we're going to have some bad ones on here. So let's start off. Something we did agree on, Joe. Number 1 on my list, Mantar. I agree. What a piece of shit fucking gimmick that was. That did not do him any favors. Number 2, Bastion Booger. Yes, we came out and we called the man a booger. And he tried to act like a booger.
And that was the same guy that played Norman the Lunatic.
Yes, it was. Mike Shaw.
Yeah, and Norman the Lunatic was actually better than Bastion Booger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a guy that
Which is
really
saying
got
something.
railroaded when he went to WWE because, he was in NWA, he was in Smoky Mountain.
Global Wrestling Federation. He was mucking Sing.
Well, I was going to say...
And Stampede.
Well, here's the funny thing, and that's where I was going to go with this. He was actually one of the most feared villains in Stampede Wrestling as Makam Singh. He was actually very scary, scared the shit out of people, and he made a lot of people bleed. Almost similar to the Sheep Herders when they became Luke and Butch the Bushwhackers.
Right.
How they just turned him into a joke.
I will say this, though. WCW, when they turned Norman Lunatic a babyface, he had kind of became a little bit of a joke there.
Yeah.
And then... WWE was almost like, hold on, WCW, hold our beer. You think you can turn a wrestler into a joke? Let's show you what the guy's going to do.
Now, do you want to put Friar Ferguson on there with Bastion Booger?
Oh, jeez, I forgot about.
Or do you feel like Bastion Booger was worse than
I think Booger was worse than Ferguson, but that's a pretty
Booger
bad one.
stays on there on his own.
Just pure disgusting.
Who's your number 3?
Number 3 is the Goon, Wildbro Irwin. For years, he was solid in a lot of regional territories. Yeah, but making him as a hockey player and calling him the Goon.
That was an unfortunate time where they almost had a gimmick and then they just needed a guy to fill it. I want to see if anybody else on your list follows that, but there's several guys that came in as solid personalities.
Oh, don't worry. My list will get some of them.
In fact, actually, when we're talking about this time period, I'm actually crossing out my number 4 and changing him. I originally had Man Mountain Rock, which was a crappy gimmick.
But not the worst, no.
Was he?
No.
That was Max Payne.
Max Payne, yes. Again, I give WCW the nod in that. I thought WCW had a better gimmick.
I don't even have to look. I know where Dave... Can I take a guess at where you're going, Dave, without looking?
Sure.
TL Hopper.
It is TL Hopper, the fucking plumber.
Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony, right?
Yes, where we had to see the crack of his ass.
Smoky Mountain Champ really had some good rivalries there.
He did in Smoky Mountain. He was pretty much basically borderline enhancement talent in WWE.
I know, he just wrestled with his pants height.
Well, not just Smoky Mountain. Throughout the South, when he wrestled in Continental Wrestling, he wrestled in Memphis. Basically, another guy who was feared throughout wrestling wherever he went, as Tony Anthony.
Wrapping up my list, a lot of people will put this as the worst gimmick of all time, but we didn't see a lot of it, so it's just more like an honorable mention. I'm throwing it as my number 5. Gobbledygooker. It was a shitty gimmick. But to me, it just didn't only lasted one time. So.
It's interesting that you should go there because my number 1, the Gobbledygooker.
Okay, yeah.
To me, you took Hector Guerrero, who is from the Guerrero family and one of the truly great wrestlers in that time period and one of the original high flyers, and you put him in a giant bird outfit, and then where he couldn't see out of the costume. Or couldn't move, and tried to make him go to the ring and do ridiculous things.
And
I will say that
his name sounds like some next level racist shit.
It does, completely.
I think they created a new term.
From your list, I have the Giant Gonzalez, one of my least favorite. Now, it wouldn't have been so bad if they just had him come in and be somebody who couldn't wrestle. But they put him, but they put him in basically
muscles and fur.
Muscles and fur.
It was like a kid's Halloween
like a giant
costume.
Caveman. Yes, it was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And
we're all familiar with our Argentine cavemen too.
I like to think that Vince still apologizes to the Undertaker daily for what happened there. Speaking of Tony Anthony, the feuds that he had in Smoky Mountain Wrestling were with Tracy Smothers, who when he came to the WWE, Freddie Joe Floyd.
Yeah, that was bad.
Basically, anybody who's Southern who's ever worked for Vince knows that Vince is embarrassed by the fact that he's from Virginia originally and does whatever he can to bury any Southern person, whether it's Jim Ross, whether it's Tracy Smothers,
now,
Dusty Rhodes.
Isn't this a take on one of the Briscoes' names, I believe?
Is it?
I'm not sure.
I know they had the...
now that I said it, I wish I did, but
I know they had the auto body shop there for years, Briscoe Brothers Auto Body, but... I
feel like I've heard Jim Ross or somebody, fans tweet at us, let us know. But I believe this is a little bit of a rib on one of the Briscoe Brothers.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but literally it sounds like the most Southern name he could come up with.
Oh yeah, it's clearly it fits right in with how Vince seems to view the South.
And now, those who know me know I'm a huge baseball fan. But I am not a fan of Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, that's a good one.
I remember that.
When you take somebody, make them the Brooklyn Brawler, that's bad enough. When you take the Brawler and go, what can I do to screw this guy up even more? I know I can paint his face like a baseball and make him Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
You get 2 jobbers for the price of one.
It's incredible. That's
honorable mention to Steve Lombardi, who actually was a doink at one time too.
He also was. So he managed to make this list on several occasions.
On different gimmicks.
Exactly. I agree with Dave. Bastion Booger. Just to me, it was just absolutely disgusting. And you took somebody, and I don't even know how did they think this was going to get over. Were people going to be afraid of the Booger?
Yeah.
I mean...
Now, before we move on to our top 3, when you guys decided on disappointing gimmicks, how did you decide what would make your list? Is it more of the person was a good worker in one spot, but got a lame gimmick coming here, and it's just almost like an insult to their character to get that? Or did you just pick things that clearly just fell flat?
A little bit that fell flat, and also just how atrocious the gimmick was is my personal taste. Like, some of these gimmicks, like, to me are just so mind-numbing and stupid. It's just a question of, like, what insults you more. It's like almost going to a buffet where, like, man, I know all this food sucks here, but I'm hungry and I gotta eat something. What shit am I gonna eat tonight?
Yeah.
That's what some of these gimmicks are.
Well, and some of these guys were horrible. Like, we talk about Giant Gonzalez, somebody who can't work.
A guy that clearly got in just because of his size. Mantar just had a fucking bull's head on for some reason.
But like he was talking about with the Goon, when you look at the Goon, Bill Irwin, you're talking about somebody who was over in the AWA with his brother as the Long Riders. His brother ended up passing away from a brain tumor, so he went into singles wrestling from there. So the WWE takes this guy who's now lost his brother, is coming off of a hot run, and said, "What can we do to get this guy over?"
Okay, wait, I'm going to disagree with some of that a little bit. He was not on a hot run. He had
All right, so it was like 4 years in between.
and his brother maybe died like 10 years before that.
It was like 5.
All right, so Adam is going a little hardcore anti-WWE on this one. I just want to make that clear. However, the gimmick did suck. It was a piece of shit gimmick.
And Bill Irwin could wrestle.
And Bill could wrestle, but it wasn't like every company was
He did have a
treated
good
like
run in Global, though.
He had a decent run in Global, and WCW had treated him like top enhancement talent. Yes.
All right, guys. So we're making it down to our top 3.
What we got?
And there's no clear lines because Mantar makes a couple lists, Gobbledygooker makes a couple lists, Bastion Booger. I think we're gonna do a couple head-to-heads. Put a couple guys up and we'll decide who goes on.
Who hasn't been dying for a Gobbledygooker Giant Gonzalez match?
I'm going to start off because we've talked so much about him between kind of Mantar and Bastion Booger. Both horrible WWE ones.
Okay.
And both similar wrestlers.
Sure. Actually, I'll say this. So if we're going to break this down, if they're both equally bad gimmicks, and I'd rather take the guy who works well, but since that's not what this list is about, this list is about guys who don't work well.
No, it's who doesn't.
Right.
It's whoever really you think, because I'm going to pick Bastion Booger because it was proven in other federations that he can be an over character.
Right.
Even in WWE, he wrestled better.
This almost feels like a Dusty Rhodes level burn on him. Come in, we'll put you in polka dots.
So then I guess the question is, what's worse? What's more disappointing? The guy who has a bad gimmick and sucks, like Mantar? Or is it worse that we have a guy who can actually wrestle and we're giving him a piece of shit?
By the way, how did we not mention Dusty Rhodes and the polka dots?
Well, it's not as bad.
Sorry.
No, that's a good point.
I just wanted to mention
I would say he's the archetype for this because, and that's why I'm going to pick Bastion Booger because you know he's a better wrestler and they're insulting your intelligence by giving you this
Well, yes, but
character.
Let's also not pretend.
But
like
which
Bastion
character is
Booger was,
worse, Mantar or Bastion?
Yeah, let's
Booger?
not pretend like Booger was Dean Malenko here at this point either in his career.
No.
But okay, I'm gonna say Mantar is the worst because he's just a piece of shit wrestler overall. No offense, Mantar. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's dead.
But is it gimmick versus gimmick or wrestler versus wrestler?
It's kind of really
It's up into interpretation.
Who do you? It's a little bit interpretation.
I mean, I'm going with Mantar also.
Okay.
I'm gonna move Mantar on because I feel more for Mike Shaw as a wrestler.
Yeah.
But then when you look at it, Mantar was a bad gimmick on somebody who we don't even necessarily know his name.
I'm going for Mantar because, quite frankly,
If we wanted to give this award to somebody, we don't want to give it to Mike.
well, that and I was pissed that I didn't think of him when I made my list.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's one. We're going in the top 3. We got a few. We got to go ahead.
Gobbledygooker
Yeah.
versus Giant Gonzalez.
Finally, the match we've all wanted.
Gonzalez is moving on because
He was worse than the Gooker?
well,
I
disagree.
Guerrero was a good wrestler, but
I think the Gooker was a worse gimmick by far.
Okay, but we only
but
had
a better wrestler. If you go back to the Mantar argument,
But are we doing worse gimmick or worse wrestler?
But see, that's the thing. But at the end,
Because Gonzalez wasn't a gimmick; it's who he was.
right? But like
He was a caveman from Argentina.
right.
Exactly.
Like with Mantar, we basically moved to the next round because he was a shitty wrestler on top of being a bad gimmick, right?
But that's when you're
okay. You're
comparing
saying all
gimmick
gimmicks are
versus gimmick.
equal.
Exactly.
You're saying these gimmicks are so like. Gobbledygooker is so much of a worse gimmick than Gonzalez.
That's what I'm saying.
since there was no in-ring match,
Well, hold on.
to the
Hold
Gooker.
on.
With that outfit, he couldn't even wrestle.
Hold on 1 second, though. I just want to argue this point. I want to see where you stand on that, and I'm good away. We only had to deal with the Gooker one time, though.
Because of how bad the gimmick was.
Didn't he pop up again in like a gimmick thing? Later
Maybe a
on?
battle royal here.
But my point is that the gimmick was so bad
Okay.
that you only dealt with it once.
Yeah,
fair
how
enough.
many gimmicks debuted and only made that one showing? Are there any others of note?
All right, I'm sold. We'll move on to the next round.
No, do you guys know of any other
Oh
gimmicks?
God, what's his name when he tripped over the shit?
Oh, the
Well,
Shockmaster.
Shockmaster.
That's
But-
WCW. That's a different.
But
I was gonna say when we start branching out into other promotions, it's gonna be interesting what the disappointing gimmicks are.
By the way, there's 2 more gimmicks for you in the WWE: Earthquake and Typhoon.
Raucous.
Oh God, was that a gimmick?
Brockus didn't even make it on.
He did. Yeah, but I mean, how many times did he make air?
He was the inspiration.
Yeah, but he
what
wasn't. Yeah, but it's gimmick. He wasn't actually a gimmick. It's who he was.
That's who he was, baby.
All right, so now there's not too much on other lists. So
Wait, who's our number? Do we have a?
Oh, we can go.
we don't have a number 3. So I'm gonna put it up between Freddie Joe Floyd, the Goon, TL Hopper.
Yeah, all basically the same person.
They were all good wrestlers.
I'm going with Hopper. He had a fucking plunger.
I agree, and they showed his ass crack.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't the Goon have wrestling boots that were made to look
Oh
like
my god, like ice skates. Yeah, that was a horrible gimmick.
That's like the perfect recipe to break your ankle.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think TL Hopper was another shot at Dusty Rhodes. I know people...
Son of a plumber, yeah.
I still, to this day, believe, because that was after Dusty had left. And
To me, TL was the worst out of that group, though.
I agree.
Okay, we'll give it to TL Hopper. Now, usually
I still
the
hate
top...
Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Usually the top three, the first elimination is easy because it's going to be a debate between 1 and 2, and there's that third guy that's just in there. So of Mantar, the Gobbledygooker, and TL Hopper,
I think
who's the obvious first out?
To me, TL Hopper is the first one out. It's a bad gimmick, but when he got into the ring...
He was still...
Because once again, to me, with these three, you're talking about how close they are and hairline.
Everything's so bad.
And Tony Anthony, they just fucked with him there. The guy had a legacy of a career before that with the Dirty White Boys.
Right, Gooker could probably wrestle out of this group, but unfortunately, he couldn't wrestle because of the costume.
He couldn't see and couldn't frickin' move.
All right, so TL Hopper's the obvious out. Now we got Mantar and the Gobbledygooker.
See, now these are two of the worst gimmicks and I think hardest ones. Because people forget with the Mantar also, not only did he look ridiculous when he took the head off, but that head on there was just the most asinine thing I've ever seen.
Didn't they want to have him wrestle that initially?
They wanted to have him, but once again, he couldn't see.
And he could not make it through the ropes?
Couldn't make it through the ropes.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're planning something, you forget a little bit about the logistics of it. So when you see it in the ring, you're like, ooh, that did not work out as good as I thought.
With the Gobbledygooker, I love the story that Bruce tells. Bruce Pritchard tells a story about him going over to Hector, and when they were designing the suit, he said, can you do a flip in this? Can you do a moonsault in this? And Hector, without having seen the suit, went, absolutely! I can do a moonsault in anything.
And doesn't that tend to be the wrestler's way, where you tend to say, I can do it, I agree, because you don't want to lose that possible spot.
He got in the suit, and he got down to the ring, and he's like...
Nothing you can do.
This is what I've come up with this. If you put Hector Guerrero in the Mantar gimmick, I'd rather have Hector Guerrero on my roster. If you put the guy who played Mantar, it's still going to suck dick no matter what. So at the end of the day,
somebody could make Mantar work. Nobody could make the Gobbledygooker work.
I mean, both these
which, by the way, originally the rumor is that Flair was going to come out of the egg.
Jeez.
But not dressed as the Gobbledygooker.
Not as the Gobbledygooker.
Yeah, wasn't that where he was driving around the arena, supposedly?
He was driving around the arena, and one of the big jokes about the Gobbledygooker, and this is something I've heard, Bruce Pritchard will not admit this, but it's something that I've heard, is the reason why the Gobbledygooker has like the big nose and the bird features is making fun of Ric Flair. Because he didn't agree to come out of the egg and come out of the...
That's funny.
That they ended up actually doing the bird face for that reason.
Now, both these gimmicks, the costumes present a very big vision issue and mobility issue, I would argue.
But like we said, if you take Mantar and you put that outfit on, once he pulls that head off, with what's left of the outfit, he can make that work in the ring.
But you can't make the Gobbledygooker.
Nobody can make the Gobbledygooker work.
So to me, the Gobbledygooker is going to be our top worst, top most disappointing gimmick.
I guess in this one it would be the biggest loser.
Yeah,
definitely. And I want to put it out to our fans: are there any disappointing gimmicks that we missed?
Yeah. Because
some fans might be younger than us and have a more recent gimmick that we wouldn't have thought of.
Remember, WWE gimmick. Because at another time we're going to attack other gimmicks.
Right. I mean, hey, if you want to mention Saba Simba, that's one I forgot about.
Thank you for bringing up more WWE racism.
And then what about Farouk too?
Well, not only for the helmet, and then also.
You know what we can do for it? Guys, tune in. Later on, we're going to do top for the 531 top five most racist WWE gimmicks.
And we might be able to make like 3 lists out of that. But thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week. Have a good one.
Later.
That's the top 5 we've got to do. Guys, thank you for listening to the 531 here on YouTube this week. If you like what you hear, you can always find us on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and on the Apple Podcast where you can subscribe and also give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate you listening. We want your feedback, 531, and if you agree with us. If you disagree with us, we also want you to let us know. And let us know what your 531 would be. Come up with a top 5 and let us know, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. And in order for us to do that, please contact us on Twitter. We're at Fans Working. Facebook page, Working Fans Wrestling Pod. Email workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. It's very important that you actually contact us on these platforms because we want this to be your interactive place to talk wrestling.